This story is called My Girlfriend Pushed for an Open Relationship. So I got involved with her closest friend. And now she's having a meltdown. Hey Reddit, I never imagined I'd be here posting relationship drama. But I really need to vent and maybe hear some perspectives. I'm a 28-year-old guy. And until just recently, I believed I had a rock-solid thing going with my girlfriend Sophie, who's 27. We'd been a couple for 3 years, shared an apartment for 2, and genuinely things seemed amazing. Like I was secretly browsing engagement rings during my lunch hour. Kind of amazing. We connected through friends at a game night. Totally ordinary story. She cracked up at my terrible jokes. I appreciated how cutthroat she got during Monopoly. And we just meshed, started seeing each other, almost immediately moved in together after 12 months, since it just made sense. We were practically living together. Anyway, we had our little rituals, pancakes every Sunday morning, walks in the park. When work ended, binge watching those awful reality programs she's obsessed with while I scroll on my phone. Typical couple things. Sophie's in marketing, I manage projects in construction. We both pull decent salaries, have good friend groups, and our families vibe well. My mom adores her. Her father constantly invites me over for game day. We were the couple people pointed to when they talked about relationship goals. Yeah, I'm aware how ironic that sounds now. Everything seemed completely normal until last Tuesday. We were eating dinner. Sophie was going on about some campaign at work, and I was mid-bite when she just casually goes, "Hey, how would you feel about us trying an open relationship?" I literally froze like fork, suspended in air, totally stuck there. I wondered if maybe I misheard her. But nope, she continued talking about how she'd been researching it online, how tons of couples were experimenting with it nowadays, how it might help us develop as individuals and strengthen what we have. Is there a particular person you're interested in? I asked, because honestly that was my immediate reaction. Who suggests open relationships unless they already have someone lined up, right? Sophie got super defensive. No. It's not like that. I just think it would benefit us to explore ourselves more. We're still young, and I don't want to hit our 30s wondering what experiences we missed. I sat there attempting to process this revelation. This is the same woman who once got irritated because our server smiled at me a bit too warmly. Now she's discussing dating others like she's recommending we try a new cuisine. Have you been unhappy lately? I asked, thinking maybe I'd overlooked something. Perhaps there were warning signs I should have caught. Not even close, she said, reaching over the table for my hand. I love you. I love what we have. This isn't about dissatisfaction. It's about elevating our relationship even higher. Think about it. We could both explore new connections, but still return home to each other. Plenty of couples say it deepens their bond. I was speechless, my mind completely stalled out somewhere between bewilderment and dread. My hunger vanished entirely. The meal in front of me could have been styrofoam. Sophie, though, was energized, practically radiating excitement as she went on discussing boundaries, guidelines, communication. But my only thought was, where is this actually coming from? And yet, I realize this makes me sound pathetic. I said okay, not because I genuinely wanted to, not because I bought into it, but because the raw enthusiasm in her expression, the way she was leaning forward, almost begging me to agree, made it obvious she'd already made her decision. Refusing felt like slamming a door she had zero intention of respecting. Are you certain you're fine with this? She asked, all concerned and wide-eyed, like she was actually giving me a choice. We don't need to do this if you're uncomfortable. I looked at her at how eager she seemed for my approval, and somewhere deep down, I understood this isn't actually a choice whether I accepted it or not. Something had already changed between us. And if I wanted to understand what was truly happening, I needed to go along with it. No, it's fine, I said, forcing myself to nod. If you believe it'll strengthen us, we can give it a shot. And just like that, I stepped into something I didn't support, knowing instinctively I was already losing her. She got super excited, immediately started discussing how we should create dating app accounts together, how we should establish a communication system for scheduled dates. All these specifics she appeared to have already considered. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there questioning how long she'd been orchestrating this. The remainder of that evening was surreal. We watched television like usual, but my thoughts were spinning. Sophie was snuggled against me on the sofa, acting like everything was completely fine, like she hadn't just proposed, fundamentally altering our relationship. I kept wanting to retract it, to admit I wasn't genuinely comfortable with it. But I couldn't find the words. Every time I glanced at her scrolling on her device with this subtle grin on her face, I felt increasingly like I just committed a massive error. That night in bed, I couldn't fall asleep. Sophie was completely knocked out beside me, peaceful as anything, while I gazed at the ceiling, questioning what the hell I'd agreed to. Part of me wanted to shake her awake and tell her absolutely not, that I refused to share her with anyone else. But another part of me was terrified, scared that if I refused, she'd proceed anyway or dump me for somebody else. So I laid there replaying every recent conversation we'd had, attempting to identify if there were clues I overlooked. Was she feeling bored? Was I inadequate? Was there already another person? The questions kept flooding in, and I had zero answers for any of them. I had no idea this was merely the start of how insane things were about to become. Things shifted the very following day. Sophie devoted the entire evening building her Tinder and Bumble accounts, asking me to help select pictures. Like this was some completely reasonable thing for a boyfriend to do. She even had me take fresh photos of her. Yeah, seriously. I went along with it, photographing my girlfriend so she could look appealing for other men. I attempted setting up my own account as well, just to demonstrate I was participating, but my enthusiasm wasn't there. Every time I tried composing a bio, it felt bizarre and phony. What was I supposed to write? Currently in a relationship, but seeking entertainment. The entire thing made me feel disgusting. I believe she understood that I wouldn't actually meet anyone because I'm not outgoing and I lack the time or motivation to meet strangers. And I mentioned that to her multiple times, so she assumed she could go on her dates and maintain me as her fallback option. Sophie started getting matches immediately. Obviously, she's stunning and engaging, but what truly bothered me was how rapidly she began connecting with these guys within 7 days. She had 3 meetups scheduled. 3. She'd display their profiles like we were chatting about celebrity crushes. Look at this one. She'd say, shoving her device in my face. He's a fitness instructor at that upscale gym across town. We're grabbing coffee tomorrow. And I just nodded and attempted to act like this was completely acceptable and ordinary. The first time she prepared for a date, I felt nauseated. She put on this black dress I'd never seen before. Yeah, she purchased new outfits for this and invested like an hour applying makeup. When she emerged from our bedroom, she did this little spin. How do I look? She asked, all enthusiastic. Great, I managed to respond, while thinking about how that dress likely cost more than what she typically spends on our dates. She returned home late that evening, all giggly and cheerful. I faked being asleep when she climbed into bed, but I heard her messaging someone for like an hour. The following morning she was humming while brewing coffee, acting like everything was ideal. I began tracking her schedule. Monday, it was coffee with the fitness guy. Wednesday, dinner with some attorney dude. Friday, cocktails with a guy who ran a food truck. Yeah, the variety was interesting. Each time she'd return looking like she'd experienced the best time of her life. I started monitoring the locations she was tagging on Instagram. Not my finest moment, but I needed to understand what was actually going on. One evening, I actually drove past the restaurant where she claimed she was having dinner, spotted her sitting at the bar with some tall guy in a business suit, laughing at whatever he was saying. She had her hand on his arm, looking at him the way she used to look at me. The worst aspect wasn't even witnessing her with these guys, it was how she transformed at home. She began spending significantly less time with me, no more cuddling. She was constantly messaging someone. Our Sunday pancake ritual abandoned because she was meeting the girls for brunch. I attempted addressing it with her once. Don't you think you're scheduling a lot of dates? I asked, trying to sound nonchalant. She looked at me like I was being absurd. That's the entire purpose of an open relationship, isn't it? To connect with new people and have adventures. You should attempt it too. I can assist you with your profile if you'd like, but I didn't want assistance with my profile. I wanted my girlfriend back. I wanted the person who used to get thrilled about ordering pizza and watching garbage movies with me, not this new iteration who was constantly dressed up and heading out. One night, she was preparing for yet another date, guy number 6 or 7. I'd stopped tracking, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. I went for a walk to decompress and wound up at this park where we used to have picnics. Sat there for like 2 hours, reflecting on how rapidly everything had crumbled. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Sophie. Hope you're doing okay. Don't wait up, having such an incredible time. Each text felt like she was twisting the knife slightly deeper. The following day, she attempted to tell me about her date, some anecdote about how hilarious this guy was, how he brought her to this phenomenal new restaurant. I just stood up and exited the room. She trailed me, looking puzzled. I thought you were comfortable with this, she said, sounding genuinely shocked. You said you were okay with it. Yeah, well, perhaps I'm not, I finally said, but you could be meeting people too. You're choosing to remain home and be miserable. That's when I understood. She genuinely didn't comprehend it. She couldn't grasp that I didn't want to date others. I wanted her, the previous her, the one who used to cherish our mundane, normal existence together. By this stage, it had been 3 weeks since she initiated this whole open relationship situation. 3 weeks of observing her dress up for other men. 3 weeks of staying awake wondering where she was, what she was doing, who she was with. 3 weeks of feeling like I was going insane. I genuinely believed she'd come to her senses, to recognize how absurd she sounded. I kept anticipating her to wake up and realize how foolish this entire thing was, to comprehend what she was destroying. But she didn't. No hesitation, no remorse. She was genuinely proud of it. She walked around like she'd unlocked some advanced level of romance, like She discovered something the rest of us were too stupid to grasp. And the worst part, I couldn't wrap my mind around. Why she appeared content with me, so why demolish it all? Why act like what we shared wasn't sufficient? That's when it finally registered. There was no repairing this, no reversing it. It was finished in a way that couldn't be fixed. And for the first time, I wasn't even certain I cared any more. The notion of her out there enjoying herself without a concern, while I was stuck here suffocating in it. It ignited something in me. I wanted to make her regret everything, make her recognize exactly what she discarded. But that didn't mean I had a strategy. Yet I just knew I wasn't going to sit around suffering while she got to have all the enjoyment. I hadn't determined my next action, yet I just knew I needed to speak to someone who would genuinely comprehend how twisted this all was. And that's when Emma started appearing more frequently. Emma's been Sophie's best friend since their freshman year of university. She was constantly at our place movie evenings, helping us relocate furniture, delivering soup. When one of us was ill, just one of those truly authentic people, you know, she's a kindergarten teacher, which suits her perfectly because she's got this ability to make everyone feel acknowledged and valued. I never considered her as anything beyond Sophie's friend. Sure, she's attractive, long brown hair, green eyes, constantly smiling. But she was solidly in the friend category in my mind. Plus, she dated this guy Mark for like 2 years, though they separated a few months back, the first time she appeared, after Sophie initiated this open relationship thing. It was to retrieve some mixing bowls for a birthday cake she was baking. Sophie was out surprise with some new guy, and Emma could sense something was wrong with me. "You look awful," she said in that straightforward way she has. "What's happening?" I didn't intend to tell her everything, but it just poured out how Sophie sprung the open relationship concept on me, how she'd been dating different guys practically every evening, how I felt like I was losing my mind witnessing it all unfold. Emma sat there listening, genuinely listening, not just waiting for her opportunity to speak. When I concluded, she shook her head. "That's not an open relationship," she said. "That's just Sophie doing whatever she desires, without caring how it impacts you." Something about hearing another person say it made me feel less crazy. Emma began appearing more frequently after that, typically when Sophie was out on her dates. We'd watch films, order takeout, just spend time together. It was pleasant having someone to converse with who knew both of us and could comprehend the situation. One night, about a month into Sophie's exploring, Emma came over, looking somewhat anxious. She was fidgeting with her necklace, which I recognized was something she did when she was nervous. "I need to tell you something," she said, sitting on the opposite end of the sofa. "And it might make things awkward, but I can't keep pretending my stomach did this strange flip thing. I think part of me anticipated what was coming. I've had feelings for you for a long time," she said, looking at her hands, "like since before you and Sophie even became a couple. But you were with her, and she's my best friend. So I never mentioned anything. I began dating Mark hoping it would help me move past it, but she shrugged. It didn't work." I sat there attempting to process it. Emma, kind, hilarious, absolutely gorgeous. Emma had feelings for me. How did I not notice that she was the one who assisted me select gifts for Sophie? The same Sophie who was still determining if she even wanted something serious with me. Emma, who prepared me homemade chicken soup when I was sick, while Sophie barely texted to check in. Had I been oblivious this entire time? "You don't need to respond," she added quickly. "I just needed you to know, watching Sophie treat you like this, witnessing how much it's hurting you, it's been destroying me. You deserve better than this." I looked at her, truly looked at her. Perhaps for the first time, that simple green sweater somehow made her eyes sparkle. And her hair was up in one of those effortless messy buns, the kind that shouldn't be attractive, but somehow made her look even more beautiful. And right then, I questioned how the hell I never noticed before. Simultaneously, Sophie's actions were still burning in the back of my consciousness. She genuinely believed I'd sit around waiting like some faithful idiot while she paraded around with not just one guy, but multiple, like I was some safety net just there. Whenever she got bored, that was her biggest miscalculation. She was out there doing whatever she wanted, assuming I'd still be available. When she decided to return now for me, that chapter was closed. I wasn't playing by her rules anymore. I was playing by mine. I decided to take my shot. I took a breath, feeling that shift, that moment where I finally seized control. "Emma." I started, my voice steadier than I anticipated. She moved closer on the sofa. "I know this is complicated. I know I'm probably making everything worse by telling you this. But seeing you so unhappy the past few weeks, I just couldn't stay silent anymore." Then she kissed me, just leaned in and kissed me. I should have stopped it. I should have considered Sophie, about our friendship, about how complicated this would make everything. Instead, I kissed her back. It wasn't just a kiss. We ended up spending the night together. And it was different. Emma noticed me, truly was interested in me. She noticed when something in my expression shifted. Asked what I was thinking, genuinely cared about the answer afterward. Lying there in the darkness, I let it all sink in how far this had gone, how everything had shifted, the realization that I just slept with my girlfriend's best friend, something that should. I felt like crossing a boundary, but all I could think about was how right it felt. I thought this wasn't some meaningless rebound, some impulsive mistake. She turned to me, propping herself up on her elbow, her eyes searching mine. "What are we going to do?" she asked, her voice quiet but steady. I exhaled, staring up at the ceiling. I should have had an answer, should have felt guilt, conflict, something. But all I felt was relief, like I could finally breathe after weeks of suffocating in Sophie's chaos. "I don't know," I admitted. Emma hesitated, then said, "I don't regret it, do you?" The crazy thing, I did not even for a second. Because, for the first time since this whole open relationship disaster started, I saw things clearly. I wasn't the one who destroyed us. I wasn't the one who broke trust, and maybe, just maybe, I deserved someone who wanted me, just me. "Sophie's going to lose it when she finds out," I said. "Probably," Emma agreed. "But isn't it ironic how she thinks it's perfectly acceptable for her to date other people, but the idea of you doing the same would drive her insane?" She had a point, and that's when I decided maybe it was time for Sophie to get a taste of her own medicine. I didn't inform Sophie about Emma immediately. Part of me wanted to see how she'd react to subtle hints first. Yeah, maybe that was petty. But after witnessing her parade around with different guys for weeks, I figured she deserved to experience what that was like. The morning after Emma left, Sophie came home from staying at Jessica's place. Pretty confident Jessica was actually some guy named Jason. But whatever, she was all chatty, telling me about her girls' night while making coffee. That's when I dropped the first hint. "Oh, Emma stopped by last night," I said, super casual. "We had a really good conversation." Sophie's hand froze on the coffee pot. "Emma was here." "Yeah, we hung out for a while. She's really easy to talk to, you know." Sophie put her coffee mug down too hard, splashing some on the counter. "What did you guys talk about?" "Just stuff," I said, shrugging. "Life, relationships, feelings." It was nice. The look on her face was priceless. She spent the next hour texting someone, probably attempting to get details from Emma while pretending to watch TV with me. I could see her glancing at me every few minutes, trying to figure out what happened. Over the following days, I began mentioning Emma more and more, how funny she was, how she truly understood me, how we'd been texting. Each time Sophie would get this tense look on her face, like she was attempting not to react, but couldn't help it. One morning I was smiling at my phone while texting Emma, and Sophie practically lunged across the couch to see what I was looking at. "Who are you texting?" she asked, trying to sound casual and failing miserably. "Just Emma," I said. "She's really into this new show I recommended." Sophie's face did this bizarre thing where she tried to smile, but looked like she was in pain. "Instead, you guys have been talking a lot lately." "Yeah, she's great to talk to, really gets me, you know." Sophie started doing this thing where she'd check my phone when I left it lying around. She thought she was being sneaky about it, but I'd catch her scrolling through my messages when she thought I was in the bathroom or kitchen. The funny thing, I deleted any genuine evidence of what happened with Emma. I just left enough normal, friendly texts to make her suspicious and drive her crazy. Then Sophie started showing up at places where she knew I'd be, like I'd mentioned grabbing coffee at this place near work. And suddenly she just happened to be there, or I'd say I was meeting friends at a bar, and she'd show up an hour later claiming she was in the neighborhood. The best part, she started canceling her own dates. Suddenly, she was home more often, wanting to watch movies or cook dinner together. It was like watching someone try to mark their territory without admitting that's what they were doing. After countless attempts to get closer, each one met with me shutting it down. She finally came right out with it. "Are you seeing someone else? Isn't that kind of the point of an open relationship?" I replied, "To see other people, yeah. But who is it? Is it Emma? Are you sleeping with Emma?" I just smiled and said I thought we weren't supposed to share details about our other partners. "Isn't that what you said when I asked about your dates?" Sophie lost it, started going through my Instagram followers, checking who liked my posts, analyzing every interaction I had online. She even started following Emma's social media obsessively, reading into every post or story Emma shared. The final blow came when Emma posted a selfie in a coffee shop, the same coffee shop where I get my morning coffee. Sophie called me immediately. "Are you with Emma right now?" "Sophie, I'm at work. But you always get coffee at that place in the morning. Did you meet her there?" I let her panic for a minute before saying that coffee shop has like 1,000 customers. Every day people can go to the same coffee shop without it meaning anything. But Sophie wasn't buying it. She started asking me where I was going all the time, who I was seeing, what I was doing. The same woman who'd been coming home late from dates for weeks, who never gave me straight answers about who she was with, was suddenly demanding to know my every move. Emma thought it was hilarious when I told her about Sophie's behavior. We'd been meeting up secretly, typically at her place, where Sophie wouldn't accidentally spot us. The small doubt I'd initially felt about hooking up with her was fading fast, replaced by something that felt a lot like justice. She really can't handle not being in control, can she? Emma said one night. While we were cuddled up on her couch. Nope, I agreed. And the best part, she can't even complain about it without admitting. She never actually wanted an open relationship, she just wanted permission to cheat. That's when Sophie decided to change tactics. She came home one night and dropped a bomb that would change everything. I think we should close the relationship again. I stared at Sophie as she sat there on our couch looking all serious and concerned, telling me how she thought we should focus on us again. The same person who'd been going on dates left and right for weeks was now sitting there acting like she was doing me some huge favor. I just think we've explored enough, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled it away. We could go back to how things were before, just you and me. I couldn't help but laugh. Just you and me, like the past few weeks never happened. Well, yeah, she said, looking confused by my reaction. Isn't that what you wanted? You haven't seemed happy with the open relationship. That's when I decided it was time to stop playing games. You're right, I haven't been happy watching my girlfriend go on dates with a new guy every other night. While barely acknowledging my existence, her face did this weird thing where she tried to look sympathetic, but couldn't quite pull it off. I know it was hard for you, but that's why I'm saying we should close things up again. We can work on us, I repeated, like how you've been working on getting to know half the guys in this city. That's not fair, she said, getting defensive. You agreed to the open relationship. You could have been dating too. Oh, I said, watching her face carefully. I've been seeing someone. Sophie went pale, like actually pale. What? Who does it matter? Isn't that what you wanted? Both of us exploring and having new experiences. She jumped up from the couch. Of course it matters. Who the hell is it? How long is it? Emma. It's Emma, isn't it? I just sat they're letting her spiral. She started pacing around our living room, running her hands through her hair. It is Emma, isn't it? That's why you've been talking about her so much. That's why she's been avoiding my calls. My best friend. Really funny how you're allowed to sleep with whoever you want, but the moment I do the same, it's a problem. But it's Emma, she screamed. She's my best friend. You can't sleep with my best friend. Actually, I said, standing up. I can. And I did. Sophie stopped pacing. She stared at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. What did you just say? I slept with Emma multiple times, actually. And you know what? It was great. She actually cares about my feelings, which is more than I can say for you lately. Sophie's face went from shock to rage in about 2 seconds. You're lying. Emma would never do that to me, really, because she did want to know what else. She's had feelings for me for years, even when she was dating Mark. She was thinking about me. You're making this up to hurt me, Sophie said, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. I'm not. Remember last Thursday when you were out with that startup? Emma came over. We talked for hours. Then we slept together. She sees me as a person, not just some backup plan waiting at home while you live your best life. Sophie grabbed her phone, probably to call Emma. I don't believe you. Emma would never check your texts with her, I said. Notice how she's been kind of distant lately, not really responding to your messages. That's why. She scrolled through her phone frantically, probably seeing all the unanswered messages and short replies from Emma in a new light. This can't be happening, she muttered. This isn't how this was supposed to go. Oh, really? How was it supposed to go? You get to have fun with other guys while I sit at home being the loyal boyfriend. Did you really think I wouldn't eventually meet someone else? But not Emma, she yelled. Anyone but Emma. You knew this would hurt me. I lost it at that point. Hurt you? What about how much you've been hurting me watching you get dressed up for other guys, coming home late smelling like someone else's cologne, barely even looking at me anymore? Did you ever think about how that felt? That was different, she tried to argue. Those guys didn't mean anything, so that makes it better. The fact that you were just having meaningless hookups, while I actually developed real feelings for someone. I intended to drop some hints here and there to let her feel the burn that she made me feel. She stopped staring at me. Real feelings? Yeah, real feelings, Emma. And it's not just physical. We talk, we laugh, we actually care about each other. When was the last time you and I had a real conversation that wasn't about your dates or your new experiences? Sophie sat back down on the couch looking defeated. So what are you saying? You want to be with Emma now? I'm saying this open relationship thing showed me what I really want. And it's not someone who treats me like an afterthought. She started crying, then big dramatic sobs that probably would have worked on me a month ago. But all I could think about was how she hadn't shed a single tear over how much she'd been hurting me. We can fix this, she said between sobs. We can go back to how things were. I shook my head. No, we can't, because now I know what it feels like to be with someone who actually values me. And I'm not settling for less than that anymore. That's when Sophie did something I never expected. She grabbed her keys and stormed out, saying she was going to Emma's place to sort this out once and for all. The moment Sophie slammed the door, I grabbed my phone to warn Emma. When I told her Sophie was heading her way, she just said, let her come. Emma's always been the calm one, like nothing seems to shake her. Still, I offered to come over for support. No, Emma said, I need to handle this myself. She's been my best friend for 10 years. I owe her that much. I spent the next hour pacing around our apartment checking my phone. Every 2 minutes, the place felt weird, like when you know a storm is coming and the air gets all heavy. Finally, Emma called. Her voice was shaky. She showed up screaming. Emma said, like my neighbors probably heard everything. She kept yelling about how I betrayed her, how I'm a terrible friend, how I'd been plotting this all along. What did you say? I told her the truth, that I've had feelings for you for years, but never acted on them because she was my friend, that watching her treat you like garbage these past weeks made me realize she never deserved either of us, that what happened between us wasn't planned, but I don't regret it. Apparently Sophie didn't take that well. She tried to push past Emma into her apartment, saying she needed to see for herself if I was there. When Emma blocked the door, Sophie accused her of hiding me. She's completely lost it. Emma said she started listing all these random times we hung out, trying to prove we'd been sneaking around behind her back for months. Even brought up that time last year when you helped me move my couch, when she was too busy with work to help. Sophie had apparently convinced herself that every interaction Emma and I ever had was some secret sign of an affair. The time Emma brought me soup when I had the flu, obviously a cover for hooking up the group movie nights at our place, just an excuse to make eyes at each other. Then she started crying. Emma continued, like sliding down my door frame, crying, saying she never meant for any of this to happen. My neighbor came out to check if everything was okay. It was mortifying. Sophie finally left after Mrs. Chen threatened to call the police about the noise, but not before telling Emma that she'd ruined everything and that she'd never forgive her. About 20 minutes after my call with Emma ended, Sophie came back to our place. She looked terrible. She walked and saw me on the phone. I was texting Emma updates and just lost it. Are you texting her right now, planning your next meetup? How long have you two been laughing at me behind my back? Nobody's laughing at you, Sophie. You did this to yourself. I didn't do anything, she screamed, throwing her purse across the room. I suggested an open relationship to make us stronger. I didn't tell you to go sleep with my best friend, no. You just wanted permission to sleep with whoever you wanted while keeping me as your backup plan. She started grabbing things, pictures of us, gifts I'd given her, and throwing them in a box. I'm going to stay at Jessica's, my real friend, someone who wouldn't stab me in the back. Fine by me. I said, take whatever you want. That made her pause. That's it, you're not even going to try to stop me? Why would I? You've made it pretty clear what matters to you, and it's not me or this relationship. She stopped packing and sat on the couch, suddenly looking really small. I thought you'd always be there, that no matter who else I dated you'd be waiting when I was ready to settle down. And there, it was, the truth finally coming out. I wasn't her partner, I was her safety net, her backup plan, her guaranteed happy ending. While she went out and explored, well, you thought wrong. I told her I'm not some puppy waiting faithfully by the door while you're out having fun. I'm a person with feelings, and I deserve better than being your second choice. But you weren't my second choice. I love you, no, Sophie, you love having me around when it's convenient. There's a difference. She started crying again. But this time, I didn't feel anything, no urge to comfort her, no guilt. Nothing, just emptiness. I'll come get the rest of my stuff tomorrow, she said, finally picking up her box. I can't be here right now. After she left, I called Emma. Just hearing her voice made me feel calmer. We talked for hours that night about Sophie, about us, about what happens next. Emma mentioned that some of their mutual friends were already taking sides, with most of them calling her a backstabber, without even knowing the whole story. I don't care, she said, they can think what they want, I know what's real. I looked around my half-empty apartment at the spaces where Sophie's things used to be, and realized I felt relieved, like I could finally breathe again. I told Emma to come over to stay with me, and she agreed. I didn't care anymore about anything. The next morning, Sophie came to get her stuff. She brought Jessica and 2 other friends. I didn't know well they gave me these nasty looks while helping her pack, like I was the bad guy in all this. Sophie had obviously told them her version of events. Your Xbox is mine, I bought it for your birthday, she said, unplugging it. Fine, take it. I was beyond caring about stuff like that. Emma showed up halfway through the packing session. She hadn't planned to come, but I texted her saying I needed coffee, and she read between the lines. Sophie's friends started whispering when Emma walked in, but Emma just ignored them and handed me my coffee. Really? You're just going to flaunt this in my face? Sophie snapped. Nobody's flaunting anything, Emma said calmly. I'm just here to support my boyfriend. First time either of us had used that word. Sophie looked like she'd been slapped. The packing went faster after that. Sophie's friends kept rushing around grabbing things, probably trying to get her out of there, before she had another meltdown when they finished. Sophie stood in the doorway for a minute. I really loved you, she said softly. No. I replied, you loved having me available whenever you wanted me. There's a difference. After they left, Emma helped me clean up. You okay? Emma asked, watching me toss Sophie's things in a donation box. Yeah. For the first time in months, I really am. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, life's been different, better. Emma and I are taking things slow, doing it right. We grabbed coffee at her favorite spot last weekend, and ran into some of Sophie's friends. They ignored us completely. Emma just squeezed my hand and smiled. Sophie's still telling people her side of the story. How I cheated, how Emma betrayed her, how we secretly wanted each other the whole time. Some people believe her, the ones who matter don't. Yesterday, Emma brought over a bunch of her kindergarten students' artwork to decorate my fridge. Too empty, she said, looking at those crayon drawings. I realized something. This is what I want, someone who notices the little things, who cares about making my space feel warmer, who shows up with coffee just because I didn't reply to her text. Instead, I helped Emma grade papers for her class while we watched that new mystery show. She loves simple, normal, real. Looking back, I'm almost grateful Sophie suggested that open relationship, not because it was a good idea, it wasn't, but because it showed me what I really wanted in a partner, someone who chooses me first, not just when it's convenient. That's the thing about life. Sometimes the worst decisions lead to the best places, or in my case, to the right person who was there all along. Edit. Thanks for all the support. Reddit. Emma's reading this over my shoulder right now, laughing at how I described her, always smiling. She says, "Hi, by the way."